Hello everybody, how are we all doing today? Take a sip of my water while I wait for StreamYard and YouTube to catch up with each other, because you never know when you're actually live and when you're actually not. It's a massive pain in the butt. Hello, welcome to the Authortube virtual retreats, the Nano wind down, perfectly set in place, I guess, for you to have a little bit of rest and relaxation now that NaNoWriMo is finally over. I don't know about any of you, but NaNoWriMo sort of was so difficult this year, and obviously with everything that is going on, it is going to be more difficult than usual. But I know some people made some great progress. I know some people won, and for the first time ever, which is absolutely fantastic. So Authortube virtual retreat is here for this weekend, today and tomorrow, to sort of wind you down, to sort of give you something fun to do, be a little bit more involved in the community now that we've sort of gotten over the whole NaNoWriMo thing. And the links to all of the playlists for today and for tomorrow as well, for the workshops and the sprints, are down in the description box below for anybody who wants to see them, who wanted to see some earlier but they've missed them. They are here, Vera, absolutely. So yeah, I've just gotten home from work, like the second time I've been at work since the UK lockdown ended, at least. And obviously it's Christmas and I work at Disney, so it was fun, but it wasn't fun, if you sort of catch my drift. Kaylin is here. Hello. 100% the motivation I need right now to get my bike into gear. Yes, absolutely. Sherry is here. Hello. That's me. I'm here, obviously. Haley Mr. 9 is here. Hello. How are you? And Kelly Martin Brooks. Hello. How are you doing today? Today, for this session of the virtual retreats, for this workshop, I'm going to be talking about how to move past the first draft of your novel. Now, obviously, there are some people who sort of know how to do this already, or who have made their attempt to do so, but there are going to be those whose, first time that they've ever finished a novel. So this is, if I share the screen properly, and this is where it gets awkward, because not that one, it's that one. Because I can't look at StreamYard and look at my presentation at the same time. I made a lovely presentation that's all nice and sparkly for you guys as well. So today, yeah, we're going to be talking about how to move past the first draft, how to prepare yourself and prepare your novel to get you from the first draft to the second draft, and sort of talk about the things that you need to look at, the things that you need to work on in order to make your second draft a better version of your first. Obviously, disclaimer, this is all from me and my opinion and what I have learned and what I have sort of tested and tried and experienced doing multiple drafts of multiple different first drafts over the years of me being a writer. And yes, it will work for some people, and yes, it will not work for other people, but hopefully this will give you, if you are new, if this is the first novel you've written and you want to take it further, of the things that you need to do, or you should do, or you can do to look at for you to sort of create your own way of revising and rewriting your first draft. And then for those who have done it before, maybe there's something that I do differently. Maybe there's something that, or an extra step I have that you don't quite do, for you to take on board as well. So if I try and set everything up, oh, that's terrible, so I can actually see everything that I'm doing, that would immensely help me. So I need that, I need that, and I need that. Is this going to work how I want it to work? Hopefully this is going to work how we want it to work. Right. Yes, it does. Perfect. So I can't see the comments, but you know, that's the least of my worries right now. The only kind of writing is rewriting. Ernest Hemingway. You're going to see these quotes scattered throughout the entirety of the presentation because, I don't know, it makes it last a little longer, but also they're fun quotes I like. So you have just completed NaNoWriMo, or you have just finished the first draft of one of your books. You have written the end finally. The first thing that you need to do after you have done all of this is celebrate. Celebrate because you've just achieved such a fantastic, amazing thing. You have written a novel, and that is something that you get to brag about for the rest of your life. Believe me, I do it all the time. So you've reached the end. The hard work has yet to begin. I am warning you all now. If you thought writing your novel was hard, trust me. But celebrate it, sing to the rooftops, brag about it on social media and to your friends. You're a writer, you're allowed to, and reward yourself with, I don't know, a new tea mug, some hot chocolate, a jumper you've been keeping an eye on, notebooks and pens, something to sort of, I did this. Yeah, that's the first thing you need to do. The second thing you need to do, oh, that didn't work. Okay, so the second thing that I suggest you do after you have written your novel is to, first of all, make a list. Now, what you're going to want to do is make a list of everything that you already know that you need to change in your novel. And this isn't going through and rereading it and thinking, oh, these are the things I need to change. These are the things that consciously you know and you think about as you write. So you know that while writing your first draft, your beginning doesn't quite work, or you don't quite like how you've begun the story, or you've got a plot hole somewhere, or an issue that you've sort of written yourself into that you couldn't quite get back out of. You know that your timeline doesn't work, that it's supposed to be like a 3-month story and somehow the days and weeks don't quite add up correctly. Write all of these down so you have a point of reference to go from when you get into all of the rest of the revising that you need to do. It sort of helps you focus, I guess, if you can sort of see exactly what you think your weaknesses are within the novel without having read it first. Because then when you do go back and you do revise and you do rewrite, you can pay closer attention to all of these aspects if you already know that you need to work on them. The next thing you need to do, you need to put it away and you need to ignore it. Don't start working on it straight away. The best way to go in and work on your novel is with completely fresh eyes, hopefully having forgotten everything about it is the best thing to do. So leave it alone, put it in a drawer, hide it away on your computer somewhere. Don't look at it, don't think about it. Give yourself some distance, work on a different project. Don't do anything related to that project at all whatsoever. You want to wait 1 month, 2 months. I always wait at least 1 month before I start rereading and rewriting again. I know some people do 2. I know people can go up to 3. Some people sometimes do less, but the more distance you can put between yourself and your first draft before you go back into it, the easier it is to be objective about what you've written and what you need to change. You want to go in with as little memory as possible of what you have written. It sounds so weird, I know, but I find that's always the best way. You're not as close to your novel then. The next thing you want to do, you want to print it out. Is printing out your novel absolutely 100% necessary? Not really. It does depend on the writer. I find it easier to digest and revise something that is on paper rather than that if it is on the screen. It feels more real to have a printed version of your manuscript in your hands. It makes it all feel a little bit more, it just makes it all feel a little bit more, you know. It's a new surface you're reading on, it's a new text or a new font that you're reading, and having that difference between the screen and then the paper is going to help you catch a lot more things than if you were just reading the same sort of surface, I guess, over and over again. So you can get it printed professionally if you want to. I know a ton of places online if you just Google print stuff. I use docsu.com. I'll put that in the chat for you guys. It's quite cheap for me, especially in the UK. It cost me £20 for printed 300-ish page manuscript plus delivered plus bound. They do an international, I do believe. Obviously that will cost a little bit extra for the shipping, but they are the cheapest that I have found. Hello Steffi Faye, hello, how are you today? So yeah, just give it a go, see what you can find, see if you can find the cheapest you can. If you have a printer at work, then sneakily use your printer at work to print out your manuscript. I've done that before as well, that was fun. Use your library or use school printer if you're able to. Anyway, you can get your manuscript printed. Make sure you get your page numbers on there. That's very important. The last manuscript I had did not have page numbers. So if I wanted to go back and reference something, I couldn't because I didn't know what page it was on. So that sort of mucked up my sort of way of revising a little bit. It worked out fine, absolutely. Also, additional point here, you can also get yourself or try and find yourself a critique partner. Now, there's always a lot of umming and ahhing over what an alpha reader is and what a critique partner is and what a beta reader is. And I know that for a lot of people, all of those three different roles are sort of interchangeable. Technically, they're not. A beta reader is someone who reads the final draft of your novel, I guess you'd call it, as a reader to see if there are any changes you still need to make. Alpha readers and critique readers are the ones who read the rougher drafts. And if you do want to get yourself a critique partner, I think the earlier you do it, the better. The faster, I've learned, the faster and earlier you get new, fresh eyes on your novel that is not you, the easier it will be to point out flaws in your story, flaws with your characters and flaws with your pacing for you to fix them. Because as a writer, even giving yourself distance from your novel, you are still going to miss some things. And there are still things that you are not going to pick up on, either because you like it too much or it's one of your favorite lines, but it doesn't quite work within the story. Someone else, someone new who's not close to your novel is going to be able to point those out to you. Critique partners are there for all of your revisions. If you find one and can maintain that relationship, they will read your rough drafts, they will critique the pacing, they'll critique the plot, they'll critique the characters, perhaps even give you suggestions or help on how to improve or change these things that they feel that they need changing, but also make sure that you agree with what they're saying and don't change them just based on that one person's critique. I don't know who it was, I can't remember, I'm really sorry. Someone did a Morgan Hazelwood, I believe it was, she did a beta reading workshop earlier. I'm very sure that a lot of points that she made within beta readers can also be applied to critique partners as well. So if you want to get yourself a critique partner, this is the best place to do it. They can read ahead and help you as you do your own reading and you do your own revising. I have hot chocolate. I'm not upset about it. Okay. Oh, that's not even the right button I'm pressing now. Okay. Secret Santa alert time. Hi, guys. So this is a Secret Santa session. For all of you who don't know what a Secret Santa session is, basically with every single Authortube virtual retreat we have done so far, every single stream, every single workshop, every single sprint session has had a secret word. And your job was to collect all of these secret words, compile them at the end in the feedback form to be in for a chance of winning one of 4 Amazon gift cards. This year, in celebration of Christmas, it is Secret Santa. So there are 4 Secret Santa sessions throughout days 1 and 2 of the Authortube virtual retreats. And this is the alert for that. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to ask a question. And the first person to correctly answer that question is going to win one of 4 $15 Amazon gift cards. I did say dollar, didn't I? I did. I'm not used to dollars. I'm very much a pound person. So if everybody is ready to go, we are going to get with the Secret Santa session question, which is: name the 3 Lord of the Rings books in order. Name the 3 Lord of the Rings books in order. I don't know the answer to this question because it's in my emails. I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up. I have to admit, I don't know Lord of the Rings. I've never watched it. It's absolutely terrible. Where do I need to go? Oh, and I need to bring up my comments. That might also help me out a little bit as well. For those of you who have read Lord of the Rings or seen Lord of the Rings, what was your favourite book out of the 3? I'm very curious to know. Can't find the right answers. This is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. Caitlin's going to refrain from answering. Oh, Caitlin, it's because you know the answer. I wish I could remember what the answer was. Is it here? Oh, this is absolutely terrible. I can't find where these answers are now. What have I done with them? Caitlin's favourite movie by far is number 2. Ah, found it. There we go. I couldn't access them from my iPad. That's really, really frustrating, actually. Three Lord of the Rings books in order. Right, I need to wait for all of my answers and all of my comments to appear on StreamYard because it takes so long sometimes for everything to go on. Regina, I've seen the first movie, but all the rest of my Lord of the Rings info comes from Stephen Colbert. I know Frodo, there's Sam, and there's my precious. And that's literally all I know about Lord of the Rings. I know nothing else. Kaylin, more about the books. I tried reading the books. I really did. I tried. I just could not get through it at all whatsoever. Oh, we have an answer. Nori Pasella, please let me know if I pronounced your name correctly. Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. That is correct. Congratulations. That is the first correct answer that we have had. Congratulations, well done. What you need to do is you need to email atvirtualretreats.com to receive your prize. I will put that in the description box for you. That is the right email address, isn't it, Kaylin? I do believe it was. And now I'm not so sure. Oh, where are we? Yeah, it's right. AT Virtual Retreats. Okay, I've put the email address in the comments for you, Nori. Congratulations. If you email that address, you will get sent your $15 Amazon gift card. Congratulations. Crow's Talons is here as well. Hello. There's no lateness. It's all saved. Don't worry. Not a problem. Right, so now that I've sorted that out, we can move on to, whoops. I'm so technologically bad today. I don't know what it is. We can move on with the rest of the workshop. Right, now that you've given yourself time to distance yourself from your novel, you have printed off your manuscript, you have or have not gotten yourself a critique partner, the first step to properly rewriting your novel is to reread your novel. You want to reread your novel twice. Personally, rereading it twice this way is what has helped me the most when it comes to the actual revision part. You can reread it just once if you want to, but twice you get to take in twice as much detail. You get to read bits you might have missed the first time if you're like me and you're a very skim reader and you just automatically skim stuff by accident. Even if I try not to, it still happens. The first time you want to read it is you want to read it as a reader. You don't want to do any note taking on your manuscript. You don't want to do any edits or anything like that. The reason you want to read it as a reader first is so you can get an overall feel for your novel. You can sort of see when you read it how the pacing is, how the beginning works. You can keep an eye out for all of the parts that are boring you, all of the parts that maybe move too quickly. You can sort of note the places that don't make sense, and all of these specific places, note them down on a separate piece of paper so you know beforehand these are the types of things that you need to work on within your novel. Write them on your list of things that you already know what to change. The second time you reread your novel, you want to read it as a writer. This is where you go into a lot more detail in regards to your reading. You're not just reading it for the overall feel and enjoyment of the novel. You need to be looking at where you need to extend scenes, where you need to add more scenes in. To clarify some points, you need to sort of pick out where you want to remove scenes, or you take out the scenes that you feel aren't working anymore. You need to point out if the beginning is working or if the beginning is correct or it needs to change. You need to add in the places where you need to do more explaining of the magic system, of the plot, or things like that. And it is at this point, when you are rereading both as a reader and a writer, that you need to decide what type of changes you are going to make to your novel. And there's not just one type of change that you can make. There are 3 different ways that you can turn draft 1 into draft 2. And they are the following: rewriting, revising, and redrafting. Now, the most common, I guess, going from draft 1 to draft 2 is going to be rewriting. This is where you're changing the story. You are adding and taking away subplots. You are reworking the beginning or the ending. You are fixing the plot hole, probably having to change the plot to do so. You are changing your character arcs. You're changing your goals, your motivations, things like that, in order to make the core plot work properly. These are the big changes that you need to make, sometimes called developmental edits, I guess, with the plot of the character. The second way you can go from draft 1 to draft 2 is to revise your novel, and this is where you're changing the text. The plot itself, as you've written it, works. You don't need to add to it. You don't need to take away from the plot. What you're doing is revising the text itself. So you are adding description with settings or atmosphere. You are adding tension into your scenes. You are adding character inner thoughts. You can also add and take away scenes here to enhance certain parts of the plot. You need to work on things like scene transitions, or better the pacing by making some scenes shorter or making them longer. The third way to go from draft 1 to draft 2, which is probably the most difficult way to do it, is to redraft, which is where you start from scratch, where nothing you've written works and you don't like anything you've done, where nothing fits properly with what it is you need to do. You're not happy with anything at all that you have written. You can redraft it. If you feel that the approach that you are taking towards the original idea is not the correct approach that you need to tell the story, so you take out the core idea, you take out the main plot, and you start again and you redraft completely from scratch. I've had to do this before. It's not fun. Not that I've had to do it before, I'm going to do this. My very first novel that I ever wrote, Nephilim, I got to about the 7th draft, and there were still so many comments and critiques about the plot, about how things didn't make sense, about the characters, about motivations for the characters, and no matter what I was doing to fix the plot just would not be fixed, to a point where, you know, it was more critiques on smaller things rather than big things. So I've sort of come to the conclusion that, yeah, the main core of my idea, that can stay, but everything else has to go. And I'll take the characters I have, and I'll take the plot, and I'll take the small moments I enjoyed, and then just completely rework and redraft it into an entirely new version of itself, because rewriting it was not working. It's a very difficult thing to do. It does not mean at all in any way that you are a bad writer for having to redraft the entire thing. So don't associate it at all with your skill level as a writer. It happens. It happens especially when you are trying to write a story that is bigger than your experience as a writer. But it does not mean that you're a bad writer, okay? So don't even go there. Right, now that you've read your novel, you know how to approach your changes, you know if you're going to rewrite it, you know if you're going to revise, you know if you're going to redraft. You want to do a structural review of your novel as it is at the moment. You have to take your list of things to do and changes to make, and you need to make it longer, basically. You want to, not necessarily in this order, but these are the things that I do when I am going through a structural review like this, because I like to be a little bit pedantic about everything that comes to writing. You want to go through and note down all of your scenes that you have. It does not take as long as you think it does or you fear it does. Believe me, I've worried so much about having to do all of my scenes. It took me about 15 minutes, all in all. You want to note down what page they start. You need to note down what page they finish. You need to note down what chapter this scene happens in. Write it down as a scene list, just a list of all the scenes you have. Personally, I find it easier to revise or rewrite scene by scene rather than chapter by chapter, because it's a smaller chunk to work with and focus on. You want to note down where your subplots are within your novel. You want to note down when they appear, what chapter, what page, what scene they appear in. And then you need to note down what chapter or what page or what scene they are resolved in. This way you can clearly see if all your subplots are resolved, if they need to be, obviously. You can see how they affect the novel going forward. You can see how long your subplots are, whether it's a subplot that appears for a chapter and then disappears entirely. You know then to include it in the rest of the work. Now grab a highlighter We're going to do some color coding. I do love me some color coding. I'm not going to deny it. I go through and I highlight the scenes, and I will highlight based on the main focus of that scene. So if the main focus is the main plot, I will highlight in blue. If the main focus is character development or a character moment, I'll highlight it in pink. If the main focus is subplot, I'll highlight it in green. If there is a lot of exposition or information in a scene, I'll highlight it as yellow or something like that. Pick the things that you want to focus on and highlight all of the different scenes. So then if you take a look at your novel or your scene list from afar, you can sort of get a brief overview of how much time your novel is spent focusing on all of the different elements. And obviously too much of exposition is a bad thing. Too much of subplot is a bad thing, especially if it's taken away from the focus of the main plot. Then you can sort of see what parts of the story you need to rework to bring your main plot back into focus. Next, you want to note down where your inciting incident, your midpoint, and your climax are. I only ever focus on these three things when I'm doing a structural review, because to me personally, they are the three major beats in your novel. And correct me guys if you think there are other major beats that need to be included here. These are all of the points where there is a massive shift for your character, and they are the three main points that will appear in most story structure or plot structure methods that you find. The inciting incident is what changes and what pushes your protagonist into the new world. The midpoint is something big that affects them and the way they are looking at or achieving their goal. The climax is obviously the culmination of everything. It is how your character, your protagonist, achieves their want and their need. Talking too much is not a good thing. So the reason we note all of these down is to sort of help with the pacing of your novel. So if you look at your scene list, you can see if your inciting incident is too close to the beginning or too far away from the beginning. You can see at the moment where your midpoint is it actually at midpoint? You can see where your climax is, and if it is too far away from the actual end of your novel, because usually the climax is 1-2 chapters away from the end. That is going to help with pacing. It's going to help sort of decide where you need to add to or take away from your novel. And then you want to note down how long all of your chapters are, what pages they start on, what pages they finish on, and how many scenes are in each chapter. And the reason we do this is because we want to avoid having a chapter that is 5 pages long and then the next chapter immediately after is 40 pages long, because while there's no real this is how long a chapter should be, personally as a reader, so I put it to my writing as well, the more equal all of the chapters are in length, the easier it is for me to read the novel. The more likely I am to go and read the next chapter when I really shouldn't be reading the next chapter, because I'm not going to be hit with 40 odd pages after I've just read 10. If you're writing middle grade, then the best thing to do is to keep all of your chapters roughly the same length. That's going to help kids digest it and keep them interested and entertained for longer. Obviously that's not a rule with YA, but you don't want too large of a gap in length between 2 chapters that are right next to each other, because that can really throw off the pacing as well. The reason we are doing all of these things for the structural review is to give us a deeper view of the content of the novel. And this is where you get your red pen for your manuscript, and you add all of these changes to the relevant pages of your novel as you go. The first draft is just getting the pieces of the puzzle. Then I get to put the puzzle together, Judy Blue, which is basically what rewriting is. Next step, some of you are going to hate me. Next step is to outline. Yes, I said outline. Even the pantsers out there, pantsing is for your first draft. I'm sorry to say, it's for when you're exploring your novel, where you don't want to be confined to an outline. But when you're moving from your first to second draft, an outline and a solid map of where you need to go within your story is the best thing to do in order to help you make your story better. You need to know what you need to fix, and you need to know where everything in your novel goes, so you are going to have to outline. And how deep you outline is completely up to you, but it does help immensely if you know what you're going to do. Outline is going to include all of the scenes and the moments you want to add. It's not going to include anything that you are going to take away from the novel. This is where you're going to alter the pacing, put in your big moments, put them all in the right places. So you know if you need to cut back at the beginning, if you need to add more to the first half of Act 2, or you need to take away from the second half of Act 2, or if you need to shorten the amount of time between your climax and the very last page of your book. This is where you're going to add in all of your subplots, make sure that they are resolved in the right places, where you want to add moments of foreshadowing, etc., etc. Now, there are different outlining methods. That was a bit big of me to say that. There are different outlining methods that you can do in order to get your outlining done. I've listed all of the ones that I personally know and most of what I have used lovely in around the lovely little different outlining methods. So there is Save the Cat. I think every writer knows or has heard about Save the Cat. And these are all personal opinions, by the way. Save the Cat is great for characters and it is great for genre. The 3-act method by K.M. Wayland is very, very detailed. It's got a lot of points. It's very good for pacing. The snowflake method is a very good for making a detailed summary outline of your novel for those who don't want to go full in for those pantsers out there. The hero's journey is great as a narrative guide to your novel. The story circle is great for character arc focus. That's Dan Harmon's story circle. And the 7-act method is very good if you have trouble with Act 2, or as we call it, as you muddle through the middle. It sort of breaks down Act 2 into 5 acts, so you can sort of know where you need to go as you go through. The secret to editing your work is simple. You need to become its reader instead of its writer. Zadie Smith. That is a new quote. I just found it today and I was like, you know what? It works. You do need to focus more on being a reader, I guess, as you're going through your novel, because it's the reader's and it's the reader's brain which decides whether or not a book is good or not. If you sort of understand what I mean by that, I don't quite know. Right, now that you've done all that, you are ready to start writing. It does take time to prepare yourself for Act 1 to Act 2, but all of the preparations are necessary if you want your writing of Draft 2 to go as smoothly as possible. Now, using your anointed manuscript and your new outline as a guide, you are going to write or rewrite or redraft, as it were, your new story. So there are different ways that you can go about this. I have done both of these ways. The first one is the revising way, I want to call it. It's where you can just copy and paste your manuscript, have the old one sitting somewhere, and then make the relevant changes directly to the copy and pasted manuscript that you have on your computer. You can add in the scenes you want to. You can take away the chunks. Don't delete these things. Either keep your first draft safe somewhere else, or anything that you are cutting out of your first draft, keep it safe, because as you go on into draft 3 and draft 4, you might find yourself coming back to old things that you've cut and find that you can work them back into your novel if you did like them that much. Then the second way you can do it is the rewriting method, which is where you physically rewrite your novel from scratch. I use my manuscript as a guide, and then word for word I will rewrite my novel. I will include any of the changes that I need to make. I don't know how well this is going to work because I can't see. This is my manuscript here. This is for Project Body Swap, which I'm currently rewriting. This is my guide. It sits here, and I'm literally writing word for word, minus any changes that I have. There's a couple somewhere, I'm not sure where. But then if I need to add things or take away things, I will add and take away when I need to. Now, you can revise your novel, which is where you're just changing small aspects of your plot to make it better. You can rewrite from scratch, word for word. I find that rewriting word for word also helps you sort of do some small sentence edits as you're writing as well, which just makes it easier when it comes down to doing things like editing, copy editing, sorting out the grammar or spelling that you have, making sure your sentences flow in the right way. These sort of small things you don't want to focus on going from draft 1 to draft 2, but physically rewriting your novel, you are going to pick up on a few of these as you're reading and writing, and you'll just naturally change them anyway. It's less work when you move from draft 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 and however many drafts that you end up doing of your novel. So that is how you move from draft 1 to draft 2. And to be fair, that is also how you move on from draft 2 to draft 3, etc., etc. It's just rinse and repeat, basically, all of these steps. And you'll end up taking some away depending on how much work you need to put into your actual drafting as you move forward. And you can add in as many other different ways of outlining or sorting your scenes out or color coding if that interests you. You can do things in your notebook, in your bullet journal. Take the information that I've given you and make it fit to how you work as a writer. Some things are going to work absolutely fine for you if you give it a go. Some things you're going to try, you're not going to quite like. But these are all things that I know work for me, and I know they work well for me, and I know that they have helped me make a very decent second draft out of my not very decent first draft. Oh my god, I'm lost. I'm not lost anymore, we're good. The beautiful part of writing is that you don't have to get it right the first time, unlike, say, a brain surgeon, Robert Cormier. Which is true. I know a lot of people, a lot of writers are always very self-aware when they're writing their first draft, that they have to write it and get it right the first time. It has to be a perfect first draft, but there is no such thing as a perfect first draft. And to be honest, there's no such thing as a perfect last draft either. There is always going to be someone who dislikes it, and there is always going to be something that you personally don't like what you've done. But the reason we do draft 2, draft 3, draft 4 is to take what you've written in the first draft, which you should go in knowing it's not going to be that good and accepting that it's not going to be good, and making it better and making it visualize more of what you had in your head. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to open up a Q&A now if anybody has any questions or comments that they have about anything that I've said, or if they want any clarification on anything that I have mentioned. I can get rid of this screen now and I can just have the StreamYard one up, which is fantastic. Absolutely. Sabra is here. Hello Sabra, how are you? Kelly, I agree. As a pantser, I do make an outline for my second draft. It's helpful. Like, I'm not much of an outliner myself, but I know that a second draft needs to have an outline because it works better that way. I love it. Yeah, I purposely went around looking for quotes to put in here. I don't know, I find it helps hearing from actual authors as well, rather than just me who writes. Thank you, Steffi. Haley, hello, how are you? Crows, I don't mean to sound dumb, but what is Save the Cat? I've heard of it. So Save the Cat is a story plot structure outline. It's got several beats to it. I have it. Oh, I have a very, very bad version of it. I'm really sorry. This isn't what it looks like. This is basically what it is. So you've got 8, and then there's another page. There's 12. There's 15 different beats that you need to hit within a novel, according to Save the Cat. So an opening image, which is the very first time we see your character. A moment of theme stated, the setup of showing your character in their normal life, the catalyst, or the inciting incident which pushes them into the new world. It's basically just a way for you to set up all of the beats in your novel, the important moments that need to happen in your novel. There's tons of YouTube videos about Save the Cat, especially recently. So if you want more information, then, you know, look into those, give those a read. There's also a cat. There's also a cat. There's not a cat. Oh my God. There's also a book. You want Save the Cat writes a novel. It's slightly different from the normal Save the Cat, which is more about screenplays. Okay, as a pantser, I also outline my second draft. Even though I'm disappointed you didn't mention a download the perfect novel onto my page option. I've never done that. If you want it as an option, by all means, you can have it as an option. Like, change it, do whatever it is you want to do. Oh, sorry, I was a bit too loud when I said that. I'm so sorry. I get too loud sometimes. Haley, I was applying to jobs. It's fine. Haley, you can catch the replay, Haley. It's absolutely fine. I'm looking forward to your workshops tomorrow, by the way. Absolutely looking forward to your workshops. It's going to be so much fun. But yeah, hopefully good luck on the jobs, Haley. So guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Do I want to stop the screen, or do I want to put my last screen up? What do I want to do? I'll put my last screen up. It's not really much, but yay, so pretty. So yes, thank you guys for joining me today. I'm going to very quickly bring up the sessions and the schedule so I can guide you to the next place. All of our sprints and everything aren't as back-to-back as they usually are, because we're trying to take it a little bit chill. Oh, I am the last workshop for the day, but there are more tomorrow. And Sako to me, Cass is currently live with the very last writing sprint session of the day. I think she's going for the next hour. Kaylin, it's a 2-hour for the writing sprints, isn't it? So yeah, Sakatumi is sprinting for the next hour if anybody wants to get some extra words in. And then we are back very night. Oh gosh, I'm doing things I shouldn't be doing again. We are back tomorrow. We've got Haley at, oh, okay. The first workshop for tomorrow is Haley. She's doing outlining for you and your character's success. I don't want to try and figure out what time that's supposed to be. I think it's 11 AM because mine says 4 PM. So we've got 11 AM for Haley tomorrow morning for the very first workshop. And then time zones suck. 9 a.m. tomorrow is the very first sprint session, which is Planter Forest with me, with Zara Hoffman and guests. So yes, I was right. I was right. Yes. So Sakatumi currently sprinting tomorrow, 9 a.m. sprint with Zara Hoffman, and 11 a.m. workshop with Hayley Haggerty. Yes, 9 Eastern. I always forget there's multiple time zones everywhere else. Hop on over. So guys, thank you so much for joining me. I had a blast. It was so much fun. And I will get rid of that. And hopefully I'll see many and all of you during tomorrow's sessions.